All right, gang, today we're going to talk about registration, documentation, and inspections on your aircraft. I'm going to give you a little bit of information, obviously, about what you need for the test. We're also going to talk about, just what you need to know if you're an operator out in the field. So let's dig in because I'm going to try to make this a short video. Registration. All commercial aircraft, drones, are required to be registered. If you're flying for hobby, anything 249 grams or below, or as you can equate it to pounds, it's 0.55 of a pound and below. None of those aircraft have to be registered if they're for hobby, but all commercial UAS, regardless of weight, have to be registered. You have to be a citizen or a permanent resident of the United States. Otherwise, you can get a certificate of ownership if you're, a foreign national that comes into this country and you're not documented as being a resident. You can get a certificate that says you have ownership of this aircraft, but it is not a registration. You still need that certificate of ownership, but it is not a legal registration. 13 years of age. You have to be 16 years of age to get a license to fly commercially, or a 107. But you only have to be 13 years old to register a commercial drone. Now that goes for recreational as well, so it doesn't matter how you want to register an aircraft as long as you're 13 and you're a citizen or a permanent resident. You go out to Drone Zone is how you do this. I don't think this part is on the test, but you go to Drone Zone, you sign up, you get your account, you sign up for commercial, you go over on the commercial side, make sure that you have the serial numbers for each of your aircraft before you get started, because you're going to need that. Don't get shocked by that and go, oh crap, I needed that and I don't have it. That's where you would register your aircraft. It's the same place that you register hobby aircraft as on Drone Zone, but again, you pay one fee and register as many drones as you want if you're filing under recreational. If you're filing under commercial, it's $5 fee per drone. Either way, they last 3 years, and then you have to re-up that registration. The fees are, and as I just said, I kind of let the cat out of the bag early, it's $5 per registration on the commercial drones. It lasts for 3 years. Let's talk about documentation you need in the field. And this may or may not be a test question, but they're going to ask you, what can somebody ask for, like law enforcement officers or whoever, if they come up and talk to you. You should have your pilot certificate and any updated pilot certificates you have. So, every 2 years you, by law, have to redo your license. And when you do, you're not going to get a brand new plastic certificate from the FAA. As soon as you're done with the little test online, the little class kind of test thing they do online, you're going to get you're going to be able to print out a paper, and you cut it out, this little tiny wallet-sized paper thing that proves that you did your test online, and that's what you take to prove you've got currency. So you're not going to get another plastic certificate. You're going to have these little paper certificates, and as you get new paper certificates, you can take the old one out of your wallet and put the new one in. I go ahead and have 2 wallets. This is not on the test, but this is just a good idea. I have a wallet for all my certificates and licenses and registrations for my aircraft, and then I have my wallet for driving and all that kind of stuff, and keeping my debit cards and all that kind of stuff. The reason I don't keep my regular licenses and stuff in that wallet is because I'm using it constantly and things get worn out in that wallet, just like the wallet itself gets worn out. And you'll find you're having to constantly reprint copies of your certificates and different things. So best thing you can do is keep that in a separate wallet and keep it in your drone box, or keep it in the box with your drone, or in a special paper bag or something that you're going to carry with you. when you're out flying commercially. That way, if somebody comes up and asks, you've got your pilot certificate, any updates that you need on board there. You need to have your driver's license with you as well, because your pilot certificate doesn't have your picture. So if a law enforcement officer wants to verify who you are to make sure you're the person that holds that license, they're going to want to see that. A lot of really savvy drone operators wear a vest that has a clear pocket in the vest, and they'll shove their license, their driver's license, and their Part 107 certificate in that clear pocket, so that if they're flying a drone and a police officer or somebody approaches them, they're asking for documentation, while you're getting it on the ground, you can say, "Officer, I have it over here in this clear pocket, so you can start looking at it now while I'm getting the aircraft back down on the ground." Because obviously you don't want to be sidetracked with the law enforcement officer and have that aircraft being flown in the air that you're not really paying attention to while you're talking to him. Let him worry about checking that you are in fact a licensed pilot by looking at that clear pocket. Again, that's not on the test, but just good information to have for out in the field. Another document you need for when you're out there is your aircraft registration and your marking for your aircraft. You not only have to have your paper registration certificate with you and on you, but the aircraft has to be permanently marked with the registration number. Now, a couple of things about that permanent marking is that, number one, you cannot mark it inside of a compartment or someplace like that. It has to be visible on the outside of your aircraft at all times. The second thing that I would tell you is that don't mark it in indelible ink, because then if you sell that aircraft or you give it away at some point, it's got your license number on it. Even if the other person puts theirs on it as well, and that aircraft is out there and is in an accident, even if everything works out in the end, you don't need the dudes in black suits showing up to your house asking you questions as well. And that's almost certain to happen if your license number, your registration number rather, is on the outside of that aircraft. It's the registration that needs to be marked on the outside of the aircraft. You cannot put it inside of a battery bay or anything like that. It has to be on the outside. But the FAA will consider it a permanent marking if you put it on there with a sticker. So I would suggest using a label maker. Put your number in the label maker and let it make the label and stick it on the outside of the aircraft. The FAA does consider that a permanent marking. Other documentation you need is anything to prove that you're allowed to fly where you're at. So if you're flying per a waiver or a Lance authorization, or if you're working for a company or an organization that has a COA, then you absolutely have to have that paperwork. If you're flying in a manner, or in an area where you should not be flying normally. So you should have all that proof with you. I don't think it's in the test anywhere that you have to have a pre-flight checklist with you, but it is part of the law that you have to check your aircraft pre-flight. I think it's helpful to have your pre-flight checklist that you did for that day, for that particular operation, in some kind of a 3-ring binder or something. So I have 3-hole punched pre-flight documents that I go through and check off. I put the date and the job title, and where it is that I'm doing that job at the top of that document, and the time is on there, so that if somebody comes by and asks, I can show this is what I did today. I mean, sure, it doesn't mean that I really did it. I could have just checked everything off in the little boxes, but it tends to prove that you're thinking about it, that you're doing a checklist, and that you're being safe. And that always brings people's law enforcement officers and all the like, any administrator or somebody that comes up and wants to ask questions. It brings their temperature down. It brings them down when they know you're doing the right things. It helps to calm everybody down. So I would have a pre-flight document. Any permits that you get from a city or a county or a state organization or agency, anything that shows you have the authority to fly in a particular area to do a job, have that with you. And that's just information from me to you. All right, inspections. Who can do them? Well, any law enforcement officer at any level, and that includes a fire marshal. They're legal law enforcement officers. That includes depending on what state you're in, it could be a constable. It can be a fish and wildlife agent. I mean, there's a lot of different law enforcement officers. Know who they are in your state and in your area so that you're not putting your foot in your mouth by telling somebody that they can't look at your documents. In fact, I go ahead and show it to just about anybody who asks. I'm not hiding anything. You might as well show it. You can lodge your complaint later. You can, go get your lawyer and sue somebody if you wish to do that later. But you only get one chance to make a first impression on somebody who could have your company or your license or whatever in the balance. You want to make a good impression on those folks. Just do whatever they're asking you to do. Make your complaints later. The administrator, which is considered really any FAA official. So when it says in the law that the administrator can ask you for this, that, and the other, they're really talking about anybody who's working for the administrator. So all FAA officials. It's kind of like the sheriff and a deputy. The deputy is considered the sheriff. In the sheriff's absence, the deputy has the same power as the sheriff. So same thing with the administrator and FAA officials. Not only that, but all NTSB officials are also capable of coming up and asking you to show documentation and anything else they want to inspect for that matter. TSA officials are also on that list. So make sure you're showing your documentation and not hassling these people and telling them they don't have a right. Some of you that have been around for a while may know that originally the law did not say that all these extra people could ask for your stuff. It used to be just the FAA. So literally you could tell a law enforcement officer to go pound sand. But I never did that. And I've had, people in neighborhoods call the cops and go, what is that dude doing spying in my neighborhood with a drone? And so, of course, law enforcement comes out and asks you questions. And if you're nice and you're doing the right things, obviously, or you're operating by the law, you just answer their questions and they go away. You show them what you got, proves that you're legit, and they go leave you alone. Simple. It's easier than ending up in jail because the cop didn't like you, so he looked for a reason to arrest you, etc., etc. Yeah, sure, you might only be in there for half a day or something, but who wants to be in jail for even a half a day, right? So what can they inspect? These inspections can include all your documentation. It can include your crew. They can question your crew. They can look to see if they appear to be medically or mentally fit to fly, to see if they're possibly under the influence of drugs or narcotics, etc. They can inspect your aircraft to make sure it has that registration number on it, to make sure that it's airworthy, and that's about it. I mean, they can inspect anything. Again, let them. And that rounds this video out. It's under 15 minutes, so yay, we accomplished our goal today. Short video. So watch the rest of your videos and get ready to do your study in your book, and happy studying.